Please go back. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Please. It is a request. We have got that time. Sir, you launched a 30-day program on drug abuse awareness campaign. So how do you see this initiative taken by the Legal Services Authority?
See, this is what I said in my speech also, that all the stakeholders, the public, the parents, the institutions, the schools, the institutions, and the state legal service authorities and the state government and the machinery, all will have to join hands for an effective response and effective answer to the drug menace and the substance abuse. And this is what I have said, that the families alone, the individual alone will not be able to deliver what we expect. And therefore, this initiative is a very welcome step, and I congratulate the Goa State Legal Services Authority for this initiative, which is a 30 days anti-drug campaign drive.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Pramod Sawant, Honorable Chief Minister of Goa, my brother judges from the Supreme Court of India, Justice J.K. Menace in absentia, Justice Narasimha, Justice Osam bin Amanullah, Justice N. Koteshwar Singh, Justice Sri Chandrasekhar, Honorable Chief Justice High Court of Bombay, and Patron Chief of the Goa State Legal Services Authority, Chief Justice Ashutosh Kumar, High Court of Guwahati, Justice Revati, Justice M.S. Sonar, Administrative Judge, High Court of Bombay, Justice S.V. Kotwal, Judge, High Court of Bombay and Executive Chairperson of the Goa State Legal Services Authority, very distinguished judges of the High Court of Bombay and various other high courts who have also graced this occasion, honorable former judges of the Bombay High Court, Registrar General, Member Secretary, Principal District Judges, and other judicial officers of the State of Goa and High Court of Bombay, officers from the Supreme Court establishment, senior functionaries of the Government of Goa, members of the legal fraternity, senior advocates, members of the bar, distinguished academicians, ladies and gentlemen, my dear students and friends from India. When one stands on a platform like this, in a hall, graced by the young students, teachers, parents, public officials, and members of the legal fraternity, one is reminded of a simple truth, namely, the issue we are to address does not belong to any one institution. It is not the concern of the police alone, or of the courts, or even the families alone. This issue belongs to all of us. The very diversity of this gathering tells me something important, that the problem of substance abuse is not confined to files and statistics, but is present in our neighborhoods, our classrooms, and at times within our own homes also. Ladies and gentlemen, Goa has always been a society at peace with the world. For centuries, this land has welcomed traders, travelers, musicians, and ideas from far beyond its shores. It has absorbed them with confidence rather than fear. Make no mistake, that very openness has shaped Goa's distinctive rhythm, its culture, its music, and its quiet sense of balance. It is an openness that has enriched Goa, and one that continues to draw people from across India and indeed the world. The presence of millions of tourists who have come from within and outside the country fortifies what I say before you. Yet those of us, for the benefit of experience on our side, know that for openness to remain a strength, it must be accompanied by vigilance. Every society that welcomes the world must also learn to recognize what threatens it. It is against that sobering backdrop that we must speak honestly about substance abuse as we stand at the cusp of inaugurating this novel and noble month-long anti-drug initiative. I congratulate the High Court of Bombay, the Goa Bench and the Goa State Legal Services Authority for initiating this very important and timely task. Drug use is no longer a theoretical concern, nor is it merely a category within criminal law. It is reality that unfolds quietly in ordinary lives. It enters homes without warning, often without immediate consequence, and reveals its damage only after it has taken firm root. Moreover, in its early stages, it is rarely driven by malice. It may begin, as Justice Honor pointed out, with curiosity, experimentation, peer influence, or the belief that one can step away at will. But addiction is rarely contained. What starts as a private act soon exacts a public cost on families, on education, on livelihoods, and ultimately on the institutions that hold our society together. It is this widening circle of harm rather than the initial act itself that should concern us most. The implications of our young people, for them particularly is troubling. As you are all well aware, India's future, in no smaller measure, rests on the strength, judgment and resilience of its youth. We are a nation that pins its hopes on having, in a decade or so, the largest and very empowered young human resource. I say so this because today we commemorate Veer Bal Divas, a heroic reminder of our nation's history that defined by the supreme sacrifices of its youth. As you remember, Guru Gobind Singh's two sons made supreme sacrifice, but they refused to compromise or surrender or succumb under the atrocities committed by the then regime on them. Their bravery remains the foundation upon which we continue to build a stronger and more fortified India. Just as those young heroes bravely defended our motherland, today's youth must take up a different kind of struggle, a decisive war against drugs and substance abuse. By overcoming the shadow, we honor their legacy and ensure the future of our nation remains bright and resilient. But we also understand and acknowledge that youth is the most vulnerable stage of life. It is a time of uncertainty, of testing limits, of searching for direction. When that search coincides with easy access to substances, the slide can be steep. What begins as choice gradually hardens into habit. What is embraced as freedom quietly turns into dependence. By the time loss of control is recognized, the cost has often already been paid. Goa's own life wisdom offers a powerful reminder in this regard. Along the Konkan coast, there is a shared understanding that the sea is generous to those who respect its rhythm, but unforgiving to those who underestimate its force. Substance abuse operates in much the same way. It creates the illusion of control, even as it steadily takes control away. It appears manageable until it is not. It is precisely because the challenge is so complex and its consequences are so far-reaching that we who are gathered here today are sometimes not understanding, not for a symbolic inauguration, but for sustained engagement over the coming months is what the initial and the initiative taken by the different stakeholders that matters a lot. This initiative recognizing an important truth that substance abuse cannot be addressed through isolated responses. It demands a collective effort, one that involves families, educators, health professionals, communities, and institutions working in concert. Within this larger framework, the law has a role to play, but it is not the only choice or the voice, nor should it be the first response in every case. When the law does not enter this picture, it must do so with care and clarity. The criminal justice system is often viewed solely as an apparatus of punishment. That perception, however, does not fully reflect our constitutional values or the deeper tradition of Indian jurisprudence. Our legal system has long acknowledged that justice is not served by punishment alone, particularly where human frailty, youth, and social vulnerability are involved. Indian criminal justice system, especially in matters concerning addiction, has therefore evolved with a conscious reformatory orientation, one that seeks not only to ensure wrongdoing and censor it very strongly, but to prevent its repetition and restore individuals to the social mainstream where possible. Our legal framework therefore draws a very clear and deliberate distinction. Those who traffic in narcotics, who organize supply chains, who profit from human vulnerability, these are not victims of circumstances. They are perpetrators of serious harm. For such actors, the law must speak firmly, decisively, and without hesitation. Society cannot afford ambiguity when faced with organized exploitation. But the law's response must be different when it encounters a first-time user, a student, or a young adult struggling with dependency. In such cases, the central question is no longer only one of culpability. It becomes a question of recovery. Punishment by itself cannot be the end. Justice must ask whether it is merely closing a case or preserving a future that might otherwise be lost. Dear friends, this approach is not leniency, it is realism. Addiction cannot be legislated out of existence. It can only be confronted through a calibrated balance of deterrence, treatment, and social reintegration. This is precisely where institutions beyond the courtroom become indispensable. Legal service authorities across the country have steadily expanded their role from providers of legal aid to facilitators of social justice. Through awareness initiatives, trained paralegal volunteers, outreach in schools and colleges, and linkages with medical and counseling services. These efforts are not incidental. They are central to ensuring that justice remains accessible, humane, and responsive. Goa's initiative reflects this understanding. Its emphasis on convergence between schools, families, health professionals, recovered individuals, local institutions, and legal services all recognizes a simple truth, namely, no single institution can address substance abuse alone. Prevention requires coordination and recovery requires continuity. Where institutions act in isolation, gaps emerge and addiction finds space to grow. Where they act together, the response becomes preventive rather than reactive, compassionate rather than punitive. As this campaign begins today, let it stand as a reaffirmation of a simple but enduring principle that justice in India can be firm without being cruel and compassionate without being naive. The true measure of our success will not lie in the number of events held or pledges taken, but in the lives widely redirected, the silence broken, and the futures reclaimed. I hope to return among you at the valedictory a month from now to reflect not merely on activities completed, but on momentum created and on a collective response that has deepened rather than faded with time. If this initiative succeeds in reaching even one young person before addiction takes hold, or in guiding one family towards timely help, it will have served a purpose worthy of our great constitutional ethos. There is an old saying, often attributed to Rashtrapita Mahatma Gandhi, that, and I quote, "The future depends on what we do in the present." The task before us is demanding, but it is not beyond us. Let's remember, a drug-free society will not be built by enforcement alone. It will be built by awareness, early intervention, institutional cooperation, and the quiet courage to act before it is too late. I commend all those who have worked to bring this initiative to life, especially the Goa State Legal Services Authority, and I wish it every success in the weeks ahead. But before I conclude, I wish to offer my heartfelt condolences regarding the recent tragedies in Arpura, Goa. We mourn the loss of many young lives, individuals who were there to enjoy a well-earned break, as well as those working hard to support their families. This is a profound loss for their loved ones and a tragedy for our entire nation. Thank you for inviting me and allowing me to share my views.